The Lead. Sponsored by Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.
Welcome everyone to The Lead. This is Greg Tinker, and my guest today is Chris Harris, the new athletic director at Bevill State Community College. Chris, welcome to The Lead.
Hey, I've seen it on Facebook, and I'm honored to be here today.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you today as our guest, because obviously Bevill State is a big part of Jasper and has been for a long time. Of course, those of us who are old like me, we know it as Walker College originally, and from there, of course, became part of the, I think first maybe the UAB system,
Yes,
and then
sir.
it transitioned into the Bevill system. And now you've got a big job. You're the athletic director.
Yes, sir.
And so tell us about what that looks like on a day-to-day basis.
It's actually a really, really fun job, especially for me, because it's just everything I've always wanted to do growing up. Love dealing with sports, love dealing with kids and coaches. And so basically all I do every day, my job entails, is dealing with athletics, which is just right down my alley. But, we deal with coaches, we deal with eligibility of our student athletes, recruiting, signings, day-to-day workings of baseball, volleyball, basketball, softball, tennis, cheerleading, and all that kind of stuff. So I deal with that day-to-day and talking with our coaches, and it's a blast. I look forward every day to getting up and going to work.
So which campus are you actually, where's your office?
Well, my main office is actually here in Jasper, but I do have an office in Summerton, and I do have one in Fayette, because we've got athletics on each of those campuses. But I do most of my time in Jasper.
So this is maybe unrelated. I just happen to think about it as you're talking about recruiting and so forth. Has the NIL gotten down into your level at all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We actually had a baseball player last year that brought his own NIL with him. So, I mean, it's a thing. It's in junior college. It's in junior college more than you think it would be. But mainly how those kids do it is they bring it with them. If there's an automotive business or something like that that's from this kid's community, he just brings that NIL with him. And so it's a little paperwork involved, but not as much as you would think. It's kind of neat for the kids, to be honest with you.
Well, that's a fascinating thing. I had never thought about it till just this moment. So it is a thing in junior college.
Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of paperwork we have to do when the kid comes in with the NIL, but very, very minimal, and that kid gets to make money from whatever business wants to use his name, image, and likeness, and it's kind of neat.
Well, I may have 2 years of eligibility left over at Bevill from way back in the day, so I may need to go back and see if I can get an NIL contract.
Yeah, I'm sure we can find somebody in Jasper that would want to use your name, image, or likeness. So.
Sure, yeah. This is your new role, and so we're going to go backwards, and then we'll come full circle at the end. But
right.
So you grew up in Sipsey,
Mm-hmm.
and as I was thinking about the interview today, and thinking about your community and the people you know, because they're your contemporaries,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing what has come out of that little community and the success that has been had by the folks there. And I'm thinking the Ware brothers in particular right
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
I know there are others, but to think about Scotty going back-to-back
Mm-hmm.
in state championships at Hoover, and then Patrick Ware, of course, having the success he's had at I was going to say Walker and Jasper in baseball all these years. And now here you are as the athletic director and head softball coach at Bevill.
Right.
But talk about growing up there, what you think might have shaped you guys into the kind of people who have had the success you've had, and then walk us through the different iterations of your career.
As far as Scotty and Pat and myself, what shaped us was Mike Harris and Jerry Ware. Anything other than winning was unacceptable, but doing it the right way, working the right way, going about the daily practices and the grind the right way. And from my dad, just the intensity of every practice and every moment, never taking a play off. And so, my dad's my hero, and he coached me all growing up. And so I still use the same signs in college that he used with us back in the day. And I guess that's just a homage to him, and it always reminds me of him and what he tried to instill in us. But on the way over here today, I was thinking, Sipsey and Scotty won a couple state championships. I won at Parrish, and I guess the intensity of those backyard basketball games, baseball games with me and my brother and Pat and Scotty, and that kind of helped shape and fuel us. I mean, because it was that was as intense as anything you could imagine back in those days, and the backyard games there in Sipsey. But Sipsey back in the day was an absolute great place to grow up on. I grew up in. The road I lived on had oak trees, and we lived on the last house on the dead end street. And so in the fall, I can remember, and all the leaves, couldn't even see the road for the leaves, and everybody would meet at my house or Scotty's house, and we would play basketball if it was basketball season, football, baseball. And so Sipsey back then was a great place to grow up in. I think Scotty and Pat would do the same thing. We enjoyed it, loved it tremendously.
Well, I was thinking about that kind of humorously. I didn't know if maybe there was some kind of superfood that Mike Harris sold at his store that you guys ate that gave you an advantage over everybody else.
Just, Jerry and Dad were a great, because Daddy was always grind, and Jerry would love you a little bit and stuff like that. So they were a great combination to play for. And then also you throw Ricky Busby in, who coached from time to time with us, and very knowledgeable about the game. And all three of those guys should have been coaches. They did other things in life, but all three of those guys should have been coaches. And just the way they taught us to attack each day and the sport and the details of it, I think that's what's kind of left over with Scotty, Pat, and I of how we try to go out and handle stuff day in, day out. Just
shows how important dads and men are in communities when it comes to things like that, that it's not just, a pastime for this particular season, but it's a life training, and it's obvious in you guys. So that occurred. So you left Sipsey, came to Walker at that time. So walk us through that from Walker onwards.
Well, Walker, we come out, and it was a lot of us had a bunch of good athletes, and I played baseball at Walker, and my freshman coach was Greg Tinker. You may know. So take a lot of lessons from you, and the years we played. It was JV at that time, but still do a lot of things I learned from you back in those days. Your demeanor and how you carried yourself as a coach, I still take that into how I handle myself today, because you made a big impression on me of how you handled us at that age. And so you were a huge mentor for me, the way you handled us back then. But then we went on and played for Jerry Pitts, had a very successful run on the varsity baseball team, had Josh Dow, went to Jacksonville State. I got drafted in, I think, the 5th round at one point. Ken Key played shortstop, went on to Auburn. Burns went on to Trevecca. Heath Burns, who's the coach at Jasper basketball now. Demetrius Shelton, who went to UNA. Had a lot of great athletes on that team. I, however, was not the great athlete, but I just had to always kind of work to be in that group. But I could hit, but that was about all I could do. So I always had to get out there and work, but I knew my role. So enjoyed that time. Could not have graduated with a better class. Could not have had better coaching there at Walker. So really enjoyed that time and the time we got to have in the high school days. Still remember them fondly.
Graduated, went on to college, and chose a career. So talk about that, your college days, and then your decision to get into coaching, teaching, coaching, and so forth.
Well, I remember coming in and talking to Dad and him and saying, I want to be a coach. And I remember the first words out of his mouth, "What, you don't like money?" And and I said, well, that's kind of what I wanted to do. And he was hard against it at the beginning. But now, even him being 78, I don't play a game over at Summerton. He's not on the sideline. So did that. Decided I wanted to be a coach and a teacher. And then he comes up again, Dad, and said, well, you need to get your administrative, because that's where you're going to make some money. So after his prompting, I got my administrative, and I became an assistant principal, but still was coaching. A lot of the times I was being assistant principal. I never could get out of my blood. So went there. I was at Summerton. I was assistant principal and head basketball at Dora. Went to Sipsey, assistant principal, coached basketball. Then went to Parrish, was assistant principal, and did girls basketball and softball. And that's where I found softball, was at Parrish. And then that's probably my favorite place on earth is Parrish, Alabama. So did that. Then was the principal at Sipsey. Sipsey closed down, so I went up to Huntsville, and I was the head softball coach and ninth grade athletic director there. So went from Huntsville to Carbon Hill, got out of coaching for 2 years, and then, Dr. Haygood called and said, hey, I got a softball job open. Actually said, would you know anybody interested? And I said, well, yeah, me. Mm-hmm. And he said, if you want it, it's yours. And so he gave me that job, and haven't looked back since. And it turned into, hey, would you want to be athletic director? Yes, sir. I'd love to be athletic director. And so we're here. We're building some really good things at Bevill, and really proud of where we've come in the last few years.
Well, let's go back to your state championship at Parrish.
Mm-hmm.
Those are hard to come by.
Very hard.
Very, very rare.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about that just a little bit. The team you had at that point. You don't have to name names necessarily, but just you said you found kind of your niche there, mm-hmm. coaching those girls in softball, and now of course you're doing that at Bevill State. But what about that team was special?
I just, when I first got there, we didn't even have a field to play on. So we built the field, put the fence up, got lights, got new chain link. So it was one of those things where we just built it from the ground up. And I remember the first year we went 21-24 the first year, but still made it to the state tournament the first year. But as you say, it's hard to get those. I remember finishing third at the regional 3 straight years in a row before we busted through and made it to Montgomery. And then everybody was telling me, it's hard to win it your first year. It's hard to, the girls they have to get used to it. You have to kind of set up. Well, we go through it, and they only lose 1 game to Kinston. They come back and beat them 5-0 in the championship game. And those girls, I guess where I fell in love with coaching girls is, man, they'll just, if they believe in you and believe in what you're doing, girls will run through walls for you. And that team at Parrish they just did things that just impressed me day in and day out. And I can remember the starting lineup from those days. Every time we see each other, there's this bond we share.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter if we can see each other at Walmart, the mall, Foothills Festival, wherever. Whenever you see it, you remember that bond you have with those kids. And like I said, Parrish is one of the most special places on earth to me, and that group and those people down there, love it. Anytime I get a chance to go back there, I love it.
Sure. Well, and that's something that, as they say, that can't be taken away from you, right? Because once you win a state championship, you're always a state champion.
Yes, sir.
And so I would suspect that, as you say, when you meet them, it's always with a smile on your face.
Exactly.
And theirs too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you instantly go back to that championship year. You mentioned it. There's a lot going on at Bevill State. Talk about the different campuses and the sports that they house, mm-hmm. and the successes that are occurring there. And I don't necessarily mean wins per se, but that's part of it too. But just the fact of, at one time, athletics kind of got slashed everywhere, yes. right? And so because of the money crunch, but now there's a comeback. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about that, the campuses, the sports, and how healthy that is, what the successes look like.
Summerton has softball. Of course, that's where we are. Jasper has tennis and basketball and cheer. Basketball, we just hired Coach Billy Connors from Corner, who's a local legend. And if you've never got to watch him work, and I got to watch him work from the inside out. Now that he's at Bevill, it's amazing what he can do. And you wonder all those years how this guy can be this legend. What does he do different? And as a coach, I'm always looking to pick something off a coach. So I got to watch him work from the inside out, and it's just amazing how he is with kids, what he can do, and how he can manipulate a team that went 9-19 the year before into 18-14 and second in the conference. But the legend moniker for him, he earns it. It's a big deal, and he does a great job. We've got a $5.2 million renovation going on in the Clem Gym, which was sorely needed. I think when it's finished, it's going to be something all of Walker County and Jasper can be proud of, and couldn't be happier to have him housed in that and running that. So we've got Eli Matthews, who does tennis, who is a local legend around here in the tennis ranks, and he does an absolute fabulous job with tennis. I got to watch them at the conference tournament a week ago, and Eli does a great job. We're actually about to post our cheerleader sponsored job, so that's going to be coming open, but we really love having cheerleaders on the campus. In Fayette, we have baseball and volleyball. We just hired Steve Woodard on the fly to take our baseball team, and he did an absolute phenomenal job. We actually hired him at lunch on a Monday, met with the team Monday night. He coached his first game on Tuesday. So
Wow,
when I say under fire, he was under fire and handled it beautifully with just the whole way. So we're real happy to have him. Got Charlotte Beasley, who does our volleyball. Charlotte does a phenomenal job. She is, again, like a lot of programs from Bevill, she's building it from the ground up. So she's got a really good recruiting class coming in that she's really happy about. And so we expect big things out of Coach Beasley moving forward. So, yeah, sports at Bevill, 3 or 4 years ago, I think it was just an afterthought. But when Dr. Haygood come in, he looked at me and said, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. Mm-hmm. And so then he hired me as athletic director, and he's kind of pushed that off to me. And so, you know, it's all about hiring the right people.
Sure.
And so you couldn't go wrong with Coach Connors. You couldn't go wrong with Coach Beasley. You couldn't go wrong with Coach Woodard. And we actually had the talk the other day. We could not be more pleased of the coaching staff and the people we got running our programs right now.
One of the things, as you well know, because you've been in education a long time, for real success, you got to have continuity. Mm-hmm. And being able to hang on to quality people mm-hmm. over time is essential. And you feel like you have people in place that's their desire. They want to be there for a while.
That's what I think. I think Coach Connors loves it. I mean, you can just tell he's got a passion for coaching basketball. This is the recruiting aspect of it puts a whole different spin on coaching. But you get to see dreams realized every day because this kid's been working his whole life to play basketball, softball, baseball, volleyball. And then you get to come up with one sentence out of your mouth, hey, your dreams have been realized. We want you to come play college basketball or what sport. So that part to me is the biggest blast out of the whole thing is getting to see those dreams realized. And so I think he's going to a signing today. So it's and that's odd for a coach to go to a signing. So that lets you know he really cares about those kids and wants to be a part of their lives. So Coach Woodard, same way. I mean, when I talk about passion personified about the game and how he handles it, unbelievable. Coach Beasley, same way. Eli, the same way. All the folks we have right now, just this is not their hobby. Mm-hmm. This is their life. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like me, you know, coaching, excuse me, coaching is not a hobby. It's my life. It's what I live and breathe. And I think we've got folks in every sport that do that. So,
well, talk about your own team now. Give us an update where you are and what's ahead for your team, and then we'll wrap up.
Couldn't speak more highly about the group I have right now. Pretty much our whole starting outfield's on the shelf. We had a Carly Burnham who had a chance probably being the conference player of the year, tore her ACL the 11th game in, was the heart and soul of the team. Starting center fielder Rachel Whitmer had her gallbladder taken out at 18, 19 years old. Kinley Mahaffey tore her hamstring. She was on fire 11 for 15 when she tore her hamstring. So we've got a lot of that going on where the injury bug just hit us. But they've set the records for wins in Bevill State history. They got their 31st win the other day with 4 games left to play. They've got a chance with 2 wins to make the conference tournament, which has never been done at Bevill. They play their guts out. They remind me from the team from Paris, and I tell them that from time to time. You remind me of this team. One, you know, you just made me just respect everything you do day in and day out. The way you attack practice, the way the energy level is, the way you attention to detail. So couldn't be more happy and proud of them and what they've accomplished this year. And I hope with another good recruiting class coming in next year, we just keep continuing to build. So very pleased with where we are right now.
I know one of the things in junior college you're always looking at as a coach, and of course the players, is the opportunity at the next level. Mm-hmm. And so you foresee that for some of your girls?
We actually had some calls from some different 4 years yesterday for our pitchers. So we sent their information on, and now it's up to them whether they accept those or like last year between Anna Kate Tyree and Katie Puckett, Santana Clark, there was about 20-something offers out there. But a few of them said, nope, I'm ready to move on to it. I want to be an adult. Mm-hmm. My playing days are over. But then some, you know, went on to some D1 schools, Alabama A&M for one, and they're having a lot of success up there. So yes, our job is to get the offers, and what they do with them after that is up to them. But we try to push our girls to the next level.
So from your point of view, the future of Bevill State athletics is pretty bright.
It's pretty bright, and we're always looking to expand that, but usually that comes with funding. Dr. Haygood, like I said, he doesn't do anything halfway, and so if he was going to do sports, he's going to do it always. So we're always looking for those opportunities to expand and to improve what our coaches and student athletes have to play on and work with. That's like in the gym. There's going to be a state-of-the-art gym, weight room in the gym, so we're excited about that and what our kids can do with that weight room.
Now that you mentioned that, let's end with this, because it's of interest to those of us here in Jasper in particular, because many people grew up like I did. I couldn't wait to go see Walker College play basketball, right? I mean, that was the highlight of whatever was going on, is to get to the gym and watch the Rebels play. And so now, as you said, an over $5 million renovation is going on. Talk a little bit about what that looks like internally and what we can expect, because that's to be done this summer, right? The completion
August
of that.
1st.
Okay. And the Blue Tie Club is coming back, I think, as part of that. So talk a little bit about that as we wrap up.
Well, the feeling you just described is what we want to get back, of that the community here and the fan base here remembers that part of, Walker College, now Bevill State basketball and the Clem days. So we wanted to do a renovation that renovated and upgraded Clem, but still had the same ambiance that the Clem gym had when Coach Clem was walking the sidelines. So the floor is going to be redone, brand new bleachers, paint, scoreboards, video boards, but right in the middle where it had been blocked up, we had that knocked down, so it's going to be a big glass wall, and up top will be the Blue Tie Club room. So we've kind of moved it from where it was up top, so we'll have the main point of view to watch the game, have dinner and food for our Blue Tie Club members, and we hope we get that same feel and that feeling you had to come watch. Because I remember I was actually Coach Clem's teacher's aide the 2 years I was at Walker College. So I never played for him, but just loved the guy and loved how he handled things. And so I guess the good Lord works in mysterious ways, because I'm kind of the one helping with the renovation. But I remember what it was like for Clem to run it and things that he found that meant a lot to him. And so I've tried to keep those in the renovation. So I'm pretty excited and happy about that. And I wouldn't be, I say this all the time, I haven't introduced my family yet, but my wife, Tia, huge part of my success and where I am today. Couldn't have made it without her and her backing. We got married back in 2018. We have 4 kids: Cannon, Marley, Isabella, and Olivia. Had a 2-year-old at 48. You want to talk about keeping you young? That can keep you young. But my family is a huge part of our recruiting process. It's a huge part of our softball family. All our girls know them. Tia knows them, cooks for them, takes care of them. So I couldn't come on here today and not give her a shout out of everything she's meant to me and how she backs me and what she means to be honest with you, the Bevill State program, especially softball. So,
well, the old saying goes that success doesn't happen in a vacuum. You've always got to have a team if you're going to be successful. And it's good that your family is fully invested in that success, because that frees you up to be able to do it with joy and not have any constrictions or anything.
Could not do it without her. She is we went on a recruiting visit Monday. Well, she went with me. And when I call her all the time and said, "You're the hammer. If I bring you in, you're bringing it home." So when I take her on the visit, she does. She's got a pretty good track record.
That's fantastic. Well, Chris, we have everybody, Coach Harris, AD Harris, we have everybody sign the poster behind you. So if you'll take the marker
be glad
there
to.
and sign it however you wish to do that with all of your different hats you've worn.
I'm just going to go Bears.
Go Bears. And Sipsy proud, right?
Look, I'm one of the group that come through Sipsy. My group and all the age group behind me, we're all really proud to be from Sipsy.
Sure.
And we enjoyed it. I know Sipsy's not the town it was when we grew up in it, but This group with me and around my age, you know, we would fight you over Sipsey. We're very proud to be from Sipsey, and we don't shy away from it.
No,
So.
and you shouldn't. So, as we talked about, so many, and we didn't name others, but so many successful folks, athletically and otherwise, that have come out of that area. And as you said, kind of that Americana, great place to grow up. You know, everybody, and I can identify with that. It's how I grew up. You know, in the neighborhood, whatever season it was, or in somebody's yard playing
Exactly
that
right.
sport.
Loved it.
And I can't think of any better way to grow up than that. It's fantastic. Well, part of the lead is 78 Magazine, and these are published bi-monthly, every couple of months, and you can pick these up around Jasper and other places. It's always free to a good home, and so be sure and pick up a copy of 78 Magazine when you have an opportunity. Well, Coach Harris, it has been an absolute delight to have you today. We appreciate what you're doing in terms of coaching the young ladies in softball, but also being from here and having this comprehensive view of what Bevill State athletics can be to the larger community around, the part that plays in the lives of young people, giving them opportunities to get an education, to play ball, and then to become successful adults. And that's something that brings a cohesiveness and a sense of pride to the community. And I just personally want to say thank you for what you're doing in regard to that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And I appreciate Dr. Haygood's leadership in that, to say we're not going to do anything halfway, we're going to do it right. Because that's what it takes if you're going to have success and if you're going to build that kind of community. So thanks so much for what you're doing.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's been my pleasure and our honor today to have Coach Harris with us. And if you get an opportunity, support Bevill State athletics, whatever that looks like, whatever season it is, be a part of that. And this coming basketball season in particular, make sure you make your way to, I guess it's still going to be Clem Gym, right?
Yes, sir.
To Clem Gym, the newly renovated Clem Gym, and let's see if we can't pack it out the entire season. This is Greg Tinker for The Lead saying good afternoon.
The Lead, sponsored by Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.